Look, this could be a situation where the Bears are hopeful that we all say they did right by Justin Fields when the reality is they don't want the headache.
Yes,
They
that's
don't
the biggest
want
thing.
Justin Fields there. They got yard signs in Chicago. Justin Fields is our quarterback. I mean, this thing is going to have ramifications if Caleb Williams, the guy that we assume they're going to take with the first overall pick,
Yeah, it's going to be him.
if he doesn't deliver right away,
Right.
it's going to be a mess in Chicago. I talk all the time. There's already pressure on these guys when they're the first overall pick. You add pressure to them by circumstance, whether it's trading up from number 9 to number 1 like the Panthers did, and then you've got a bright line comparison with C.J. Stroud that weighs on Bryce Young. How can it not? These are young guys. How can it not? And you can say, oh, they're supposed to be confident. Well, they are, but they're still human. These issues will weigh on them. And if you have a faction of fans who are going to be forever pissed off that the Bears gave up on Justin Fields, Caleb Williams has to win them over. And if Fields is in Pittsburgh, on the field at any point, we're going to talk about that in a second. We really haven't gone in the front door on this Justin Fields thing. We've kind of let it trickle in up through the basement. But they're going to have an issue. So this whole idea of doing right by Justin Fields, they're trying to do right by themselves.
Well, you know that.
The first time a team does right by a player, the next time will be the first time. It's just coincidental to what they want to do. And I hate to be overly cynical about this, but I would submit that 99% of the time, when somebody tries to create the impression that they're doing right by the player, the reality is they're doing right by themselves. And it's a coincidence that it also is right for the player.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. I mean, come on, we've been talking about this. Yeah, right? I mean, yeah, they don't want both of them in the locker room together. They don't want a divided locker room. They don't want any of that talk, all of that, right? So I think it's all of it. And, again, I think there is a little bit of a human aspect here that does come into play. We see teams every now and then do somebody a solid and let them go maybe a little bit before they. You wrote an article yesterday writing, why would they do it now, right? I mean, so it's not that crazy to think that they, again, they don't want the headache. That's number one. You're right about that. I agree with you there. But I think there's a little human element there too to kind of go, hey, let's let the guy get out the door. Hey, we could have maybe got a little bit better of an offer here, but the guy doesn't want to go there. He'd rather go there, right? Let's do that for him. That does go on, and unfortunately, it goes on more with quarterbacks than other people. It's more of the favoritism of a quarterback in a lot of ways. But I wouldn't be shocked if that was at play here a little bit.
And here's the reality. Justin Fields is under contract for one more year at $3.2 million. Someone's going to have to make the decision.
That's
it will now
right.
be the Steelers as to whether or not the fifth-year option will be picked up. Don't look for the $25 million fully guaranteed commitment to be made to Justin Fields by early March, because that will confuse the hell out of everyone.
No doubt.
Everyone,
Right.
if they do that.
Right.
So he'll be a free agent next year. He'll have to choose where he's going to go next, and maybe somebody else will offer him a starting job, but the Steelers will worry about that at the time. For now, the Bears had a player under contract, and this does break from the notion that they're all interchangeable parts in the football machine. $3.2 million. Hey, what if Caleb Williams gets hurt? We need a backup to Caleb Williams. You don't find many backup quarterbacks for less than $3.2 million, Chris. So, again, I do think that other factors came into play here.
Agreed.
I think that the Bears were sensitive to what was going to happen in Chicago if he was still on the team. I said last week, just pay him to not be around if he'll agree to that. Because eventually a starter gets hurt and he walks through the door as the starter. And I don't know if they had those conversations, but at the end of the day, he sees the best situation for him going to Pittsburgh, where he clearly is going to be the number 2 to Russell Wilson, but an opportunity will be there for him to play if Wilson gets hurt, if Wilson just is the guy that we saw the past couple of years in Denver. Or, and Chris, this is the first thing I thought of when I considered Wilson and Fields on the same team. Because it's not about just putting your best quarterback on the field. It's about putting your best 11 offensive players on the field. And they had Cordell Stewart in 1995 when he was a second-round pick out of Colorado and Neil O'Donnell was the established starter. And they knew that Stewart had special skills. They got him on the field. I think Arthur Smith, the new offensive coordinator in Pittsburgh, is already drawing up the plays for Justin Fields packages, either as quarterback or out there with Russell Wilson under center and Fields doing something else, because he's got the talent to do it. And what What a revolutionary approach by the Steelers. But for the fact that they did it in 1995, they're not the team that you would expect to be that creative offensively. I have a feeling that's coming this year.
Well, I mean, we know we're all going to be looking at their offense, certainly. Arthur Smith, we know he likes to run the football, do that type of stuff, right? It's old school. Arthur Smith wants to be, like we've talked about, Mike Vrabel, early Patriots, Bill Parcells-ish. I mean, that's what it feels like, right? I wouldn't be shocked to what you're saying. He's got a little package of things every week that maybe he gets out there, and they got some gadget plays or whatever else. Now, they got to be careful how much they do that. He is the backup quarterback, right? So they're not going to go, hey, here's the ball 15 times a game and, smash it up in there. But I don't disagree with you. Would we see Justin Fields next to Russell Wilson in the shotgun and they toss it to him and he's got a little quarterback option of whether he could throw the ball or run it? Yeah, stuff like that. I would not be shocked to see that. I would not. But either way, the moves the Steelers made at quarterback makes you change the thought of the Steelers altogether. It does. It makes you think, wow, Russell Wilson, we know he's still got some game-changing ability and can make game-changing throws. We know Justin Fields can do that. They probably need to get another wide receiver, right? Now that they don't have Deontay Johnson, they got to add something there to that. But, Mike, I don't think your thought's crazy about seeing Fields in some action in some of these games, a little special package that way.
They know how to draft receivers. Mike Williams, the former Chargers receiver, reportedly visiting the Steelers and others this week. And again, it becomes a snowball effect where there's going to be others that want to be in Pittsburgh. They're going to want to be part of this with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields and Mike Tomlin. And sources close to me tell me that Tomlin has a renewed energy and that the entire building has a sense of urgency.
Beacon of hope.
That's exactly what they needed.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they needed.
Right.
If you can put together a playoff team with a roster that is less than, individually, less than, collectively, under Mike Tomlin's leadership, they make it to the playoffs. They made it to the damn playoffs last year. Who would have thought that, the way they struggled offensively? But you have any offense to go along with that defense, and they're going to be a team that I think shakes things up a little bit in the AFC North. I don't know whether they'll be able to contend with the Chiefs. I don't know how good they're going to be. I don't know what the ceiling is for Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, the Steelers offense, but it's higher than it was last year. It's higher than it's been since Ben Roethlisberger was in the latter stages of his prime. Because those last couple of years, it really wasn't Ben Roethlisberger, especially the last year when they made him the offer that they didn't think he'd accept, and he accepted it. Like, oh, crap, now we're stuck. That last year, he was a shell of himself. So they haven't had high-end quarterback play for a while. And I know there's a lot of skeptics out there that think Russell Wilson just isn't going to be any good. The last 2 years in Denver show that he's crossed into past his prime territory. But, hey, if that's the case, they still got Justin Fields.
Yeah, no, and I don't think it's that. I'm not ready to say that with Russell Wilson. I'm ready to say Russell Wilson's not made for a guy like Sean Payton, and he's not made to be, I'm going to drop back 42 times a game, and I'm going to be 36 for 42, and, I'm going to have a quarterback rating in 110 and, have 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. That's not what he is. I think back about what we talked about last week. That I know he's not that now. That's what I do know. Right? He wanted to go and let me cook and let me be Mahomes or Josh Allen. Nope, you're not that. You're not that. But, can he play the style of football we talked about last week where, hey, we run the ball, I throw an out route, we run the ball a little bit more. Oh, we run it again. Oh, wait, they're creeping up on the run. Ooh, now I take a big shot off the play action passes. I'm sitting back there, right? That's the style of football I think he is made to play. That's how he was groomed and brought up in the NFL. And I think he'll fit Arthur Smith and Mike Tomlin, Pittsburgh's type of football that way. And that's where it'll work. So, we'll see. But, yeah, I think they got to feel happy and more confident about where they are in their quarterback room in Pittsburgh.
6th-round pick in 2025 for Justin Fields. It becomes a 4th-rounder if he plays 51% of the offensive plays this season. Even then, it's a steal because they will have gotten more than half of their offensive snaps out of Justin Fields for a future 4th-round selection. And I understand that the Bears wanted whatever. Bottom line, during the trade conversations.
Do you understand?
I wonder if the Bears said to the Steelers.
Yeah, what?
I wonder if the Bears said to the Steelers, could you maybe give us a little bit more, given that we gave you essentially a first-round pick for Chase Claypool? Could we balance it? Like, could is this like player to be named later? Like, come on, man. Like, you already got us once. You really want to get us this way again? And I know they're two separate transactions 2 years apart, but man, it looks like the Steelers and the Bears in two different trades. I mean, the Steelers clearly won the last one because the Bears didn't know what they were getting in Chase Claypool, and they ended up giving him what they either didn't they cut him or they gave him Miami for nothing?
Yeah, like nothing, I think.
But nothing. But they gave up what became the last pick in round 1 in 2023 because the Dolphins had their pick stripped for tampering with Sean Payton and Tom Brady, and the Bears had the first pick in round 2. It became the last pick as a practical matter in round 1. So a couple of good trades for the Steelers with the Bears. And we'll see. I mean, we're assuming that Justin Fields, but look, if you'd have told me a year ago that Justin Fields is going to get a future 6th-round pick, I'd have thought, well, what did he do? Was he terrible?
Yeah, right. Did he get hurt? Right.
Did he have some serious injury?
Right,
like
exactly.
what? Like, no. I mean, he was still Justin Fields last year. He did get injured and miss some time, but when he came back, he was still Justin Fields.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he dropped off the face of the earth. They're just in a spot where they know they're taking Caleb Williams, and they needed to offload this guy ASAP.
Yeah, well, we're seeing that in this. The day of like, hey, we don't want this guy anymore. We've sent out 90 million signals that we don't want him. Now overpay us for a trade for him has done. I mean, that's the one thing we've definitely learned in this free agency period. How many trades have there been where I've had radio stations or people go, I can't believe they got him for this. Well, when the writing's on the wall that nobody wants the player anymore, right? And that's part of the Justin Fields thing is, hey, listen, like you heard me say, and I'm sure they feel the same way. When you turn on Caleb Williams and watch it, I just see special. I mean, I see like, ooh, the dude can play. So I understand them moving on from him there and wanting to go with Caleb Williams. And then what we learned through this process is we had a number of seats open for starting quarterback. Like, hey, we don't have a quarterback. Here we go. We have found out that the league determined basically as a whole, or at least the teams that had quarterback openings, that they didn't feel Justin Fields was starting caliber or they were willing to invest, and there were some things that they wanted to see that had to be improved in his game. And I think between all those things right there, that leads to not the value we all expect for a guy who was a first-round pick quarterback out of Ohio State and all of that. But, that's just the reality there. And like we've said a million times here, the Bears weren't going to deal with, we're going to have a split locker room between Justin Fields and Caleb Williams. That was not going to happen.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.